So to start us off this afternoon on a good note, the topic, connection and disruption, the vision and the reality. If you could please give a warm round of applause to the Vice President of Enterprise Strategy at Salesforce for Central Europe, Mr. Frank Engelhardt. Have fun.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our session on connection and disruption. There will not be time for any food coma, just to take that point out of the way. We think we have a very exciting session for you this afternoon. My name is Frank Engelhardt. I work for Salesforce. We are going to share a lot of solid, really inspiring experiences of Internet of Things enabled customer-centric transformation with you from our work with companies around the world in this area. And because Salesforce is working closely with customers and partners, I invited a partner along with me today. You will hear a little bit later from Marco Lang from Bosch, and he's going to talk a little bit about the work we do together as well as the work Bosch does in this area. I'll start us off with something that may briefly send you back into the food coma. Salesforce is a publicly traded company, and as such, by definition almost, talking about Internet of Things, there will be some forward-looking statements. Should you decide to purchase Salesforce technology as a result of this inspiring talk this afternoon, I recommend that you do it on the basis of what's available today. The rest you can read on our website. We live in an exciting time. We see it all around us. This conference is themed digital transformation. There's no shortage of terms around that. But we live on a heavily connected planet, obviously. And if you look at this chart, the bar on the far right represents what the connectivity and bandwidth was in 2011. And in 2014 alone, what was added as initial installed connectivity and bandwidth on this planet was as much as existed in total in 2011. So this is growing exponentially as you would expect. And at the same time as the bandwidth and the connectivity goes up exponentially, as you know from basic 101 economics, as supply goes up, the price comes down, and you see that happening extremely quickly and radically too. You see on the plot here the relative cost of transporting quantities of data on the main data lines. And at the top here, you see Miami, Sao Paulo. What's less visible is the New York-London route because it's almost equal to the x-axis, which means it's really, the cost is virtually non-existent anymore. And if you look at what that means for business, there are some interesting observations that I'm sure many of you have started to share. In a world where connectivity and bandwidth is close to being infinite, is ubiquitously available, and is practically free, it's increasingly costly. It could be downright fatal if the products you offer as a company are not designed for this connected world. Mature products without any additional differentiating factor tend to commoditize. They tend to be replaceable, and they tend to compete on price alone. And typically that ends in a downward spiral of price where nobody benefits, neither the vendor nor the consumer. On the flip side, if you add connectivity, connection into the equation, there is a huge opportunity to add a layer of service to the product that is value-adding in several different ways. Not only is it possible for a relatively low-cost monitoring service to prevent high-cost breakdown, where, if a product breaks down, service is really only damage control. So service, by definition, almost to be value-adding, needs to be proactive in nature and value-adding. And there's a tremendous opportunity for doing that if you add service onto a product. And on top of that, you are able to have a relationship with your customer that is long-lasting, has history, builds loyalty, and increases the difficulty of switching. So there's huge value there. And to illustrate that point, I'll continue on the thermostat metaphor with our customer Honeywell, who in the home thermostat world has innovated not only on the technical side, more significantly on the business side, again, back to the theme of Internet of Things enabled customer-centric transformation. So what they did was to start with to connect their home thermostats with the consumers. which, you know, in this day and age, you're almost expecting that you can control your home thermostat from your smartphone. But what they also did is they provided their service providers, which is their primary channel, installation and service providers, with access to the thermostat's data as well. And not just that, they also used our technology to provide those service providers with apps that would help them access that data, analyze it, and most importantly, service the homes of the people who have those thermostats. Then, and that's an innovation as well, they brought everyone together in a business community, also on Salesforce technology, by the way. They brought everybody together so that these market participants could find each other, so consumers can find certified service providers. But the service providers would then be able to offer a new type of service, a worry-free contract, where the thermostat not only ideally never breaks down, but there's a long-lasting value relationship between the service provider and the customer, because the service has a positive attribute all of a sudden. You're optimizing something for me, as opposed to you're only coming around when things break down. So that's a great example for what I introduced earlier. And we're seeing this in many different industries. Here's another one. You know, there aren't many products that are more commoditized, arguably, than a storage tank. They've been around forever, and they're not terribly innovative products. But our customer ATAC, when they added sensors to these storage tanks, they were able to very quickly offer a service that not only provides them with constant transparency to the liquidity levels, but even more importantly, detect early on whether there's an issue with the tank, whether the tank would leak or even contaminate. So definitely a lot of value add there. And the surprising thing that quickly emerged here was that there's a new revenue stream that's a very attractive revenue stream, because the value they provide to customers was welcomed by the customers, and there is a profit margin in this proactive storage assurance service, if you will, of about 50%, which is a lot higher than any profit margin you would expect in the commoditized storage tank product in and of itself. So low cost by the provider, high value by the receiver. That is the equation here. And you see something very similar in our customer Koenig & Bauer. It's a printing machine manufacturer in Germany, Mittelstandsunternehmen. They've been around a long time, and they're the second largest printing machine manufacturer in the world. Well, they connected their printing machines, obviously, through the Internet of Things to our cloud service, and that allows them to monitor each individual printing machine and track important KPIs such as the total sheets printed, as well as the printing speed on average in a given month over time, which is extremely important KPI to measure, not only to provide the maintenance of the machine, but also the optimal usage. And so as they plot this information over time for the machines at the customer sites, they get a good understanding of performance patterns that are optimal for their R&D, obviously, but also data that is helpful to their customers to improve the performance and optimize the usage of those machines. And this is a very welcome conversation by the customers. Not only do they get proactive service notifications so things never break down, no. Koenig & Bauer is now able to approach the customers, sit down with them and tell them, look, the usage patterns of your machine could be optimized. Are you interested in a conversation how a company of similar size, similar industry is achieving better results? And of course, they're interested in that conversation. So everybody gains, again, in the value chain here. The customers, obviously, by improved uptime, better productivity, operational flexibility, and Koenig & Bauer, they understand the usage patterns better. For R&D, again, that's important. But they also understand much better how to work with the customers, what their needs are, build deeper relationships, and introduce value-based service models. A final example is actually on the basis of a connected product. This is a startup also working with us closely by the name of Automatic. And what they do is they allow you with a simple adapter that you plug into your ODB2 port in your car to make an old car a connected car all of a sudden. But the approach is the connection, again, is only the enabler. The value is actually in customer experience, in this case, driver experience, because the value-added service in this case is it's essentially a Fitbit or a Jawbone app for your car. So through your smartphone device or your wearable, you can be guided, if you want, for smarter, more fuel-efficient driving, for example. You are guided to where you parked your car, should you ever forget that, God forbid if you've been in that situation. Or you also, get some insight to the warning lamp that may go on in your dashboard. In a not-so-modern car, oftentimes that's the only information you get. So that they also help you make sense of those warning signals. And then they connect to other services that you have in your digital life. So you could also automatically track the car cost as part of your expense reporting, or you can tie it to a mechanic service where, again, the mechanic, similar as in the example on the thermostat, the mechanic can automatically get access to your car's data and service and repair it. So these are all examples where really the connectivity is the enabler for a better customer experience, and that in this day and age, in this digital age, is really the key. The digital age is the age of the customer. I love this quote from Christoph Hartung at Daimler, who until recently was responsible for all connected cars at Daimler. And he says, essentially, a customer-centric ecosystem is the key success factor. The connected car by itself is worthless. That's a pretty dramatic statement, but it really is the enabler, and the experience is a differentiating factor. There is no shortage on data points that will tell you that it's not product, it's not price. In order to differentiate, you need to provide an excellent customer experience holistically at every touch point with your customer. And in this connected world, Internet of Things enablement is just another channel that allows you to do that. So as you look at our experience where most value is to be had, this is from a great analysis of Internet of Things value drivers that comes out of Cisco. Definitely the most differentiating value drivers are here on the far right as you look at innovation, revenue growth, but certainly at customer experience. That is where the differentiation is. That is where most of these customer examples that you've seen here, I'm able to advance the slide, thank you. Most of these customer examples that you've seen here really reside in that area. And on the left, of course, it's an important area to take cost out of existing processes. But there is a risk if you focus too much on existing processes, existing models, and invest heavily in making something efficient that the customer has no interest in anymore. Then it's not a good investment, and it's not only the cost, it's the opportunity cost of lost time and potentially lost competitive advantage, and someone else may disrupt you because they are focusing on something that is on the right and is differentiating in the long term. So, very important theme. And you've not seen the, I don't know if you've seen the quote. Here's the quote. The clicker is a bit delayed here. So the quote is from Peter Drucker, who says, there's hardly anything that could be more wrong than doing what you shouldn't, than doing better what you shouldn't be doing at all. So that's how we've approached this subject of Internet of Things enabled customer-centric transformation. And I'd like to share our approach with you in a little video as well, just to exemplify that. I have some issues with the clicker. If you could please advance to the video.
Everything you need to make customer interactions more meaningful is already out there. It's inside an invisible world of data being created by your products, mobile devices, websites, sensors, and more. Salesforce IoT Cloud connects this massive stream of data to your company and all of your Salesforce apps. Now, with a new intuitive point-and-click UI, anyone can easily listen to this data, design real-time engagement rules, and automate smart actions personalized to connect you with your customer, like alerting rideshare passengers about upcoming traffic delays and drivers about high-demand locations, having thermostats that will know when to contact homeowners with alerts, sales reps with upsell opportunities, or service technicians with new cases. Giving airlines agents a head start on rebooking delayed customers while they're still in the air. Allowing entire fleets of vehicles to be tracked in real time, adding a whole new level of accuracy to deliveries. Automating wind turbines to modify their own behavior based on changing weather patterns. And since the IoT Cloud is powered by Thunder, it'll capture, filter, and respond to billions of events instantly, making it one of the world's most scalable event processing engines in the cloud. Now everything is connected in the Internet of Things with the Salesforce IoT Cloud.
So as we are in this increasingly connected, increasingly complex, heavily digital world, one of the important things also is open innovation. I'm sure you've all heard more than enough about terms like that, but it's really key to not go this alone. Nobody is able to go this alone. And we've always had the strategy to have an open ecosystem based on open innovation and interoperable technology. Not only does this new technology that's needed to enable these customer-centric transformations integrate with the existing system landscape of legacy systems in the back office, of office systems, but also need to interoperate at the cloud level in a number of different ways. And the key way for interoperation is the interoperation between an Internet of Things-based cloud that receives the data and then is smart enough to filter out what needs to be actionable and then make actions that support this customer experience excellence I was talking about. And you cannot expect that all technology is homogeneous, of course. And so in an open ecosystem, things need to be interoperable. And that is why I've invited in Marco Lang from Bosch, because our companies have been working together to make sure these technologies work together and Internet of Things-enabled products work across clouds and serve customer excellence wherever it's needed. So I'd like to invite Marco up here to talk about what Bosch is doing with us, but also in general. They just launched their IoT Cloud last week. Welcome, Marco Lang from Bosch.
Okay. Thank you so much, Frank, for laying out all the framework. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to share some of our thoughts and experiences also together. We made together with Salesforce with you. The first statement, and that is now building on what Frank already said, IoT is about open ecosystems. From our understanding, it's not likely that one company will be successful with a closed platform offering. Also due to the fact that the real value-adding services will require a cross-domain integration. So the first message is be open. Work with, on interoperability, support open standards, because only then, from our understanding, you will be able to leverage the potentials of IoT. But let's start with an example we already touched briefly. It's about tightening tools. Who flew here with an airplane? There are lots of rivets in there and screws in there, lots of tightening being done. Yeah? But it's done with regular power tools. So you do rivets, you do screwing, and you hope that all the tightenings are done in the correct way, I assume. Now let's think about what kind of opportunities you have using intelligent tools. Of course, the first thing is you can do an indoor localization. You have some kind of signal, you can identify where the tool is, and that gives you the opportunity, if a tool is in a place where it's not set to be used, you can block it. It's an easy thing. Second is, if the tool is in the right place and it's doing its operation, you can record the data and find out whether let's say in the tightening process, it's torque over time. And you can identify whether that's done in the correct way or not. So you have an online monitoring of the process. And that would lead to what we see in the middle, what we call a process quality manager. That's a kind of a tool, a product we developed, and that helps manufacturing processes to analyze the process and to identify anomalies. But now think even further. Now that we know how the tool is used, we can think about additional services being possible. Maybe you can have a usage-based pricing. Maybe you can think about, hey, I identified you use that tool for this and that process again and again, but that it's the edge of the tool performance. If you continue doing this process, we recommend you a better tool that gives you better performance, efficiency, or even quality after time. So this is one example where the IoT tool coming from the device orientation plays together with the usage-based thinking, and that's where we too came together in this example. You already see there this Bosch IoT Cloud logo, and I have to admit that this is now the advertisement block in the middle. I'm very happy that last week At our conference, we did announce our Bosch IoT Cloud as a German industrial cloud. Now, a little bit of technology. There is a proven architecture that emerged during the last years. A very simple sketch here of an architecture. You connect devices via IoT-specific middleware parts or developer tools. And the Bosch IoT Suite has, for some years now, been established as a successful product in that era. And enabled by the Bosch IoT Suite are already today many applications and solutions. Now, of course, the next thing is, and it's not so surprising for IT guys, we could add cloud capabilities to that. And that is leading to the Bosch IoT Cloud then. And that is what was announced last week by our CEO, Mr. Denner, announcing that to be one of the most important product launches of the Bosch Group for this decade. So being from the IT guys, that's quite a strong statement from a CEO from a rather industrial company. But why do we talk about IoT Cloud? What is now the thing about IoT clouds in there? Is there a difference between an IoT cloud and a normal cloud? Based on our experience on IoT solutions, we identified 5 patterns that an IoT cloud must support. The first one, and I will quickly go through them, the first one are cloud-based apps. This is not specific for an IoT cloud, this is relevant for any cloud. It has to support applications that run on PCs or mobile devices that help you, for example, in IoT applications to perform your data management, user data management, to do your user profiles and so on. The second is asset-based apps. Think about autonomous driving. You're driving in your car, and you have an app running in your car. You do not want to rely on having connectivity all the time, because if you travel, you might lose connectivity. So that is why an IoT cloud must support asset-based apps. You might also have cases, and that relates to our example, where you have a first business logic running on the asset, a first evaluation done, and you have communication to the cloud, where then the value adding is done further, even together with other cloud applications there. Then you have to rely on exchange of data, reliable exchange of data, and cloud-to-asset communication. But there's also a relevant pattern in IoT applications. Fourth, digital twin. Some call it a virtual twin. You have a replicate of your asset in the cloud based on construction data, based on sensor data, based on data available, and that is then the foundation for additional value-added services that do not rely on the asset itself. And the fifth, social IoT. Up to now, we only looked at assets that communicate with the cloud and information is going back. Now we can think about many assets communicating to the cloud, bringing their data together, and then supporting other assets with value-added services. Like you might have a company that is famous for, let's say, Android, and you have it on your phone, and that will tell you whether you are in a traffic jam or not, or whether a traffic jam is ahead of you. So that would be one example for a social IoT example, but I'll come to that in another example in a minute. So that is why we say this is unique about or specific about IoT clouds, and that is what an IoT cloud has to support, and that is where we see a strength of our activities in. And now coming to this example of social IoT, who is sometimes looking for a parking lot, driving around streets, getting nervous because his date is waiting for him, but not finding a place to park the car? Not a problem for you? At least one. We might have a solution for you. I'll show you in a second. Yeah? We can talk about it. 30% of traffic in streets is said to be caused by parking lot search traffic, just by people looking for a place to park their cars. And now we can think about, you have lots of sensors in your cars that help you to park your cars, that do the assistant cruise control and everything. They're able to identify empty spots alongside the street. And now think about what happens if you take all this intelligence of all the cars running around, map that with a map that says, oh, this is a driveway, you can't park there, it's an empty spot, and you send that back to the people who are looking for a place to park their car. And that is something we'll show you now. If you start the video. So that is what we're looking for next. And now, of course, we can think about what other opportunities are there for usage-based services that can be built on that. They already put that one further, to come to an end. Here's a message to all the industrial companies. Software eats hardware, better eat it yourself. And here's my message to the IT companies. The industrial companies will do so. So what do I want to tell you is, you can say the race is open, whether it will be industrial companies that have a chance to survive or it will be the IT companies. I would much more love to think about what can we do and achieve together. So it's not a race against each other, but a race with each other for better solutions of the future. And that's why we also like the quote of Jeff Immelt here. To summarize with one little thing there, we talked about the Bosch IoT Cloud. We did a calculation already at the end of last year. We had 5.1 million devices connected to our IoT platform. That's steadily increasing, so we're quite happy that we already have a decent number of devices connected. Half of our product classes is already IP enabled, so we are through on our way to 100%. That's a claim our CEO is forcing us to. And at the end of the year, we'll have about 50 solutions running on our IoT Cloud, one being the complete Bosch Smart Home offering we have. So it's not just playing around. So, we're really happy that we are there. So thanks for your attention. Thanks for you and to invite me here. And now we are open, I don't know, for a little time of questions maybe.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hope we provided some really practical insight and maybe some inspiration. I don't know if we have time for questions. The plan was, but no, we're getting the cut. I think we consumed the half hour. Thank you for your time, and we can certainly continue the dialogue. We'll be both outside in the lounge later. Thanks very much. Have a good afternoon, rest of the conference.